Welcome into Triple M NRL Daily for 2026, boys. It's a brand new year, but there's a regular faces here. Wade Graham, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm great, Charlie. It's great to be back, mate. Excitement. A couple of weeks now, and the teams will be on their way overseas to get their prep underway for the opener over in Las Vegas. So it's exciting to have the season back, and quietly, I'm over school holidays. It's good to be back at work.
Yeah, exactly. 2 weeks away till you go to Las Vegas as well, so you'll be prepping for that, I'm sure.
Yes, always.
But a new face is here with us here at Triple M this year. Welcome into Luke Keary. How are you, Luke?
Charlie, you're good, mate. Good little break, so ready to get back into it.
Just for so obviously we're over in France a bit over the summer as well.
Yeah, over in France, went for a little visit, had the kids on school. I've done the double, got the European school holidays last year, and then into the I've lost my mind. So first day back at school today.
Yeah. Good to be back though.
Oh, awesome.
It's
Good
great
summer.
to have Lukey a part of the team, actually. We know he doesn't pull his punches when it comes to his opinions. He certainly had some thoughts for the Super League and the state they were in
that's right.
while he was over there.
Constructive criticism.
I loved it, mate. I loved it. So it's great to have you on board, Luke.
What are you doing then as well? You're working the Roosters?
Yeah, I'm a day a week with them, so helping out with the younger boys, a little bit with Robbo and them, and cruising around. So
At the Byron as well.
Is he?
Yeah,
He's
hosting
right.
the
At least there'll be
Byron.
somewhere
Yeah.
there that talks
Yeah.
sense, mate. I've heard some of Jimmy's stuff over the summer. Let's just say I'm not impressed. I think he's gone backwards.
Yeah, it's gone backwards. Someone who might also be going backwards in the eyes of the rugby league world is Zac Lomax. Now, it seems as though there's been a huge mishap by him when he signed this deal with the Parramatta Eels, which allowed him to leave. However, it was under the proviso that he could not sign with another NRL club. Now, Rugby 360's fallen over, and everyone listening probably knows all about this, but he now wants to go to the Melbourne Storm, and the Parramatta Eels have rejected that and are taking him to court. Are the Eels, fair enough in doing that?
Well, I think from my side of things, I think the Eels are 100% in their right to do that. Now, Zach, came to the club Parramatta through, leaving his current contract at St George. He's a New South Wales and Australian player, and then the opportunity to go to the R360 came up, and it probably suited Parramatta and Zach, maybe for him to leave. But Parramatta have an obligation to their club and to their team to make sure they look after their own interest, and for him to sign a contract saying that he wouldn't play for another NRL club. That's just Parramatta doing good business. And I think, I'm certainly majority pro player, but in this case, the club's got it right. Now, Zach, it's a big decision that he made to leave the NRL to go to R360. You hope it was an informed decision, and he knew all the risks, all the possible positives, but also the consequences. And now that it's fallen over, the consequence is that he signed a contract saying he can't play for another NRL club. And if he wants to go to the Storm, well, I think what's fair and reasonable for Parramatta asks for is $200,000. I think that's what is $200,000 going to help Parramatta? How is that going to help their aspirations in their season? I think they have every right to say no to that. I could understand a player trade, but because, again, in my opinion, the power sits with Parramatta, like, you're asking for an Xavier Coates or a Cameron Munster, and that's never going to happen, certainly from the Melbourne Storm point of view. So I think Parramatta have done well here protecting their club and their playing roster and for their fans. And I think they have a right to do this. I feel for Zach, but he put himself in this position, and he knew this was a possible risk moving forward once he made his decision. So
yeah, I agree. I agree with Parramatta. Obviously, that conversation, when he's gone to Jason Rolls and probably the CEO and gone, I want to take this opportunity, he would have said, I'm going to go to rugby. It's a different conversation to saying after a year, walk in and go, I want to go to Melbourne. The whole situation would have been dealt with totally different. They probably wouldn't have let him go. They probably would have negotiated him to stay, or there would have been a big transfer or a player swap with Melbourne. And now that he's gone out, everything's fallen over. He's taken the risk. It's obviously an ill-informed decision. Let's be honest. Now it's flipped on him. He signed that deal knowing I can't play NRL.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I'm with you, Wade. Like, Parramatta have every right. They've protected themselves. Yes, you can go and play rugby. We're not going to stand in your way. You want to leave the game, that's okay. But not to go to a threat like Melbourne are one of the best teams in the comp. Like, if Parra are trying to win the comp, they just given he's probably the best winger in the NRL at the moment.
I also don't like the possibility of the NRL coming over and saying, well, if it's reasonable and fair, they're going to force Parramatta into a deal. Now, how do they know what's reasonable and fair for Parramatta? They don't know how Jason Riles wants to coach. They don't know what winger or what player might suit their style. And I think superseding the club, I don't like that look for the game. And Parramatta again have protected themselves, and it should be up to them the outcome of this. And unfortunately, Zac is in a bit of limbo here, and he doesn't know where his future lies. But he made the decision to leave, and he knew this could possibly be a consequence. There was no guarantee about R360 kicking off. So unfortunately for him, I think he's just got to deal with the decision that he made.
It's disappointing, like as a rugby league fan, right? We both said it before. We want to see him playing in the. We want to see him play State of Origin. We want to see him play in the World Cup at the end of the year. But Parramatta have the rights to his. They have the rights to him right now. I don't know how this negotiation's gone with Melbourne, but if I'm Parramatta, I'm sitting there going, righto, Zac for us is worth $1,800,000. He's for sale for 800. Whatever club wants to come and get him. But this is the price we pay. Or if there's a player, hey, come and get him, but we want this player from every team. Like it's almost, you almost put him up for sale.
Who would be that player if you had to pick one from Melbourne Storm for Parramatta?
Well, for me, like for like, is Xavier Coates, Origin winger, international. Zac Lomax is the best winger in the comp. Xavier Coates isn't too far behind him either. So I could potentially, see that happening. But Xavier Coates doesn't want to leave Melbourne. Melbourne aren't going to let him go either. So it's a funny situation, and I don't want to see Parramatta lose out of this. Send a player of Zac Lomax's caliber go to a direct rival who's one of the best in the competition, who that team's going to have to face probably multiple times this year. Why should they suffer the consequence when they try to do the right thing?
And they've spent that money too. They obviously knew he was going, bring Pezzett in.
Yep.
Brian Kelly, they've bought too. So it's not like he goes to Melbourne and they can buy a player straight away. Like there's a lot that's probably going on in the background with salary cap, things like that. It's an interesting one. But I do want to see him I do want to see him in the NRL.
100%.
You just want to see it done fairly.
The NRL's better off like with Zac Lomax. And a lot of people listening might say, for every Zac Lomax, someone else steps into position. But it's a better off the game having Zac Lomax. But on Zac, it's funny who you talk to. Half people reckon he was maybe advised poorly. And another group of people think he doesn't listen to the advice he gets anyway. He's his own man. So it's hard to really know with Zac. But it's not the first time Zac has had a little drama with the club. And he's already in Melbourne, which seems strange, like the way he's handling it, to go to Melbourne when you haven't got the deal signed or anything like that completed and you're already in Melbourne. That seems kind of odd.
It's such a hard one. And again, like all players, take Zac out of the equation for a minute. All players, when making a decision around contracting their future, their career, you'd like to think they sit down and they go, well, here's the pros and here's the cons. And, you try to weigh them up, be informed as much as you can. There's always risks, but you try and inform yourself as much as you can so you can make the right decision. Now, we hope that he was informed about every possible consequence from his decision to leave, sign the deal with Parramatta and then sign the deal with R360. And unfortunately, it's just fallen through. And, in my opinion, he's just got to deal with these consequences and work out the best way forward because, in saying that I want to see him in the NRL, 100% I do. He's a great player, but not at the expense of Parramatta, not at them taking a hit for really something they did their best to navigate and to protect their club and their playing roster and their members and fans.
Yeah, so I've spent a bit of time with Zac in Origin Camp 24. He does march to his own. He does march to his own beat. He's a good fella, but like Zac and Ryan, same stable. There's something's broken down there. Like to leave a contract, you don't just walk out unless you know that you've got something done.
Yeah.
Like for that to happen is bizarre.
Huge risk.
It's bizarre. And now obviously for this flip to happen, he was talking to the Force. Obviously, the reports where the money wasn't where he thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Obviously the Japanese stuff fallen over. The French season's halfway through, nearly finished. Yeah, it's a weird one, but I'm with you, Wade. Like I want to see him in the NRL, but not at the expense of the Eels. And the Eels have done everything to mitigate the risk.
Yeah.
They put in that clause. He's obviously signed it thinking I'm going to 360 for the next 3 or 4 years. And now he's honestly for sale. Like there's a lot of teams that could use Zac Lomax, and Parramatta should go out and look for the best deal for him and be able to trade him to wherever they want to.
Absolutely. You mentioned rugby, a player that has now officially gone to rugby, Angus Crichton, your good friend. He
Gussie,
joins Mark Nwanganitawase over there, chasing the dream of the Wallabies win the World Cup in 2027.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. Like everyone at the club's happy for him, right? Gussie's been through a lot. State of Origin winner, World Cup winner, won a comp with the Roosters. Like he's kind of done everything in our game. He's been through some personal stuff over the last few years. About to have a baby with his wife. He's kind of nearly done everything. He's at that age where he said, "It's probably my last chance. World Cup next year. After that, he can come back if he wanted, or he can go over and play in Japan and France and that." So I think everyone's really happy for him at the club. He's been a great servant of the game, South and the Roosters. It's great. And then the Mark one, obviously everyone's a bit sad.
Yeah,
everyone's a bit sad. Like everyone's so good to watch last year. But he's the same, Mark. He'll go to Japan next year and then World Cup. They're going to have a fair side. Suoliti, Mark, Jorgensen, Gussie. But I hope Mark comes back.
Yeah. It sounds like he might as well. When you hear him talk about it, it sounds like this is maybe a couple of years. Go do that.
He loves rugby league. Yeah. Like he loves playing it.
Could he play fullback in the future, or is he just an out-and-out winger, do you think?
I think that's a big transition. Or he could play centre. He played a few games last year.
Yeah.
The fullback transition I feel like it's a real niche position in league. Like you need to grow up playing in that position, but he could definitely play centre.
Yeah. On Angus Crichton, he's 29 years old. You spoke about that personal journey stuff. We've sort of forgotten how incredible that turnaround for him was. Everyone thought his career might have been over, and he comes back and he's like the best back rower in the game again. It was amazing.
Mate, it was honestly 2023, like he went through it all. He would have played 10 games for us, off the bench, 10 minutes a game. And I'd seen Gussie the years before at his absolute peak. Wade, you would have played with him for Australia. Like an absolute beast, athletic.
So strong.
And it was hard to watch him go through it, a shell of himself. And everyone's stuck by him, his family, his close friends. He did so much hard work on himself, met his new wife, and then got through that. And then I got to stand next to him, and he turned into the best back row in the game over the last couple of years. Like it's been an awesome story. Everyone's kind of forgot about that period because what he's done, he's got a barber business off the field. That's
AC Flow,
flying,
yeah,
that's flying. So, mate, he's honestly his whole life is really in a really good place at the moment. Really happy for him.
Yeah. So, did you play Origin with Angus Crichton?
I missed Angus Origin. I was just a bit before him, but again, two guys who Angus. Again, Luke sort of stole the words right out of my mouth. Like a great servant for the Roosters, was great for the Blues, great for Australia, and has ticked really every box. And he's always had the idea of rugby union in his career at some stage. He came through the private school system, played rugby union throughout school. So at this stage of his career, I can see the appeal of switching codes and having a crack at that Rugby World Cup. And he'd be a great addition if he can, acclimatise back to the game and play at the level that he needs to. I think I share the sentiment of all rugby league fans on Nwanganitawase leaving so soon. You got to appreciate what he's done. He came to rugby league, and he certainly would have backed himself to perform and to break into the first grade team. But to have the season that he had, he was just a human highlight reel in every game, and not just one. There was two or three every game, and he had everyone on the edge of their seat. And it was his first real season of rugby league, and it's disappointing to see him go. But again, once he shows his talent and that level of playing ability, again, a background, rugby union background, played in the sevens for the Australian team, eyeing off the World Cup, a big payday opportunity in Japan. He's got a bit of a different journey than most rugby league players. And he signed a brilliant deal for himself and his family, and we wish him all the best. And hopefully it's not the last that we've seen in rugby league, because some of the battles he had last year, they were awesome. They were awesome to watch as a spectator.
Here's one for you. You played under Laurie. Are those two a chance this year to be picked? Are they line through them, or is it still?
No, I don't think so. I think particularly off the back of last season, where they dominated in game one, and somehow the staff and the players, they lost their way and couldn't improve. while Queensland, they found their way and improved over both games and wrapped up the series. I think Laurie and the staff in that playing group need a win, and
Mm.
definitely Angus. He's been a stalwart in that back row for a while now.
Yeah.
So if he's in form and we need him to fire, you pick him. And if Mark, he's playing well. And again, we talk about Zac Lomax, who has one of those wing spots locked in. He's going for his own issues at the moment. So if we need to win and he's our best option, we pick them.
You with him on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am. Yeah, I think Madge played his hand with Suaalii a few years before, like especially guys, well, especially Gus, right? He's done his
Yeah.
he's played for 10 years, played for the Blues for the last 5 or 6. I don't think you should hold it against them.
No.
Are the Roosters is this sort of like a 1-year premiership window then for the Roosters with the players that got leaving?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that to him, but
Yeah.
I reckon it is for that group. Ches comes in, Gussie's going, Mark's going, Toops is
Yeah.
nearly there. Like it's a big year for him.
Yeah,
it's a big year.
it's kind of like when you guys when your crew, you had you, Suaalii, Manu,
Jared.
Tupanua,
Yep.
Jared, all these players leave. It kind of got another. It's 2 years later.
Yeah,
and they've got another.
last year, I reckon last year they fast tracked it. They probably didn't think they were going to get as much development as they end up getting to the back end of the year. So now all these young kids have 20 games under their belt. They're going to lose a few at the top. They've got some good kids coming through, but it does feel like this could be the kind of the year where they want to get it done.
Yeah. Angus is going to the Waratahs. Now, did you boys see the punch on at Waratahs training the other day? It was pretty brutal. Bit of ground and pound action, so a bit of UFC almost style biff.
Listen, I've seen my fair share of preseason, arguments, and sometimes they lead to a few punches thrown. But I've seen the footage of that, and that was more than just
I've never seen
that. That was more than just a couple of boys blowing off some steam. Normally, certainly the dust ups I've been involved in, they particularly happen through preseason where it's long hot weeks, boys playing scrimmage against each other, and you can feel it chipping away and building the tension for a while, and then sort of the melee happens, and it's like the air just goes out of the balloon, and so all right, well, it's out of our system now. Let's get onto it. But that one, there was a bit more into it than just a hot week at training. So
Went back for the like
Yeah, round 2. I think the
was
dad's
mad.
gotten involved as well.
Angus Scott's dad's come out and challenged him to a charity boxing match.
Jesus Christ.
that's a mess.
Have you seen any good specific punch-ups? Any ones that stand out? Andrew Feeder, was he a bit of a lunatic at training? Or Gallen?
Nah.
He
was
never
alright.
punched Bo Ryan.
Yeah, Bo got. Mate, I seen three of
hearing the story.
Three of my teammates got in the bow throughout a whole season. This is in one season. Because he never stops, right? And once he sort of picks up on someone's little chink, he'll just stay at him, and he pushed the nerves of a few boys. No, listen, I think I've got to leave all my stuff behind closed doors, mate. I'm happy for it to happen on the training field. And again, it was never that looked personal. The rugby one, the ones I recall, again, it was never personal. It was at the end of a long, hot, hard week of training, a high performance environment where guys are competing against each other, and things just get a little bit chippy, and the tensions and emotions just sort of boiled over. But again, once that sort of happened, the incident would happen, it was all gone. The tension and all that was gone. The boys would be having coffee the next morning, and away we go. It's just the nature of the beast.
I had one with Connor
Watson.
Exactly what you said. Friday afternoon, it's hot as doing scrimmage.
Yeah.
Usually at training, you don't full tackle. You just get in front. 2 blokes in front of me had the ball. Connor just come in and got me right in the rib, like a little bit harder. And I just red threw the ball at him. And thank God it was Connor and not Jared or someone. And after I threw the ball, hit him in the face, he looked at me like, what?
Right,
I thought, are we about to fight here? And then it's over, literally.
Yeah.
But 10 minutes later, you're having lunch together.
Yeah, love that. Storm. Now, they try and get Cooper Bai as well. Now, we spoke about some of the young players the Roosters have coming through, but they had a big crack at Cooper back in the day, or a couple of years ago. He's this young talent. He played for PNG in the Pacific Championships. Jason Demetrio raves about him. Jason was doing a podcast here last year and said he's one of the best young talents in the world. You've obviously know a bit about him as well.
Yeah. You hear about these kids. I'm doing a little bit with the Roosters Academy. You hear about these kids. Cooper Bai's been spoken about the last few years. Melbourne, obviously, big play for him. The Roosters had a chat to him. He's at the Gold Coast. He was signing with Melbourne, backflipped in the last couple of days, or
Yeah.
didn't sign the contract. Now Titans are back in. I watched him in that Pacific Championship. He looks like he's the real deal as a lock. Like my heart wants him to stay at the Titans. Like you want to see those. He's come through their system. Josh Hannay there. He said his first thing he said he's our priority to get him over the line. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. His dad's obviously had a long career at Melbourne too, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
Well, that's the wrinkle, isn't it? Obviously, the son of Marcus Bai, who's a great Melbourne winger. There's that personal connection, but I don't know a whole lot about Cooper Bai, but if he's a young, talented player and Titans have him signed, they need to be doing all they can to keep him on their books, because it's guys like that who will carry them forward. And Josh Hannay, I have massive respect for him, had a lot to do with him at the Sharkies. He'll be doing his best to keep that, not keep that roster in order, but to shape it to his liking. And a part of that is, showing faith in young guys and patience in bringing them along. And if he works out to be able to fulfill his potential, the Titans seem to be doing all their best to keep their young guys and to build that roster. And I think for the Titans, Josh Hannay, he's certainly he's his way that he builds relationships with his players. It's a undervalued thing and a not well-known thing about him. He has connections with the Queensland Origin team, so he can be saying all the right things to young, up-and-coming, probably future, rep players who are eyeing that arena. And again, for the Titans, you hope that they can hang on to him. Yeah. But you've watched this Melbourne system turn young guys into out-and-out winners for 20 years. So I could understand the appeal of a young guy starting off his NRL journey to want to go to a system that's run by Craig Bellamy.
Yeah, it's their first big test. Like Scotty Sattler's gone in as a head of football. Josh has just turned up as the head coach. It's their first big test of has he instilled a culture there where these kids want to stay? And then Cooper will come up, and then obviously Tino's going to come up later in the year too. Yeah. About can they keep these guys, Keano, Kinney at the back? They've got the decent structure there to build.
What do you reckon their best spine is for this year? Kinney at the back, then you've got Campbell and Brimson, where you put them, and they've also signed Lockie Ilias as well. Yeah.
I love seeing Jaden Campbell close to the action with that. Whether it's 6 and maybe AJ at centre. I know he's popped around a few times in different positions, but Jaden Campbell is just one of those players who can create something out of nothing. And the more times he touches the ball, the better off for the Titans. And again, I'm not within their club. I'm not watching him preseason train, but he just has that it factor when he's playing. And, I think the 6 is better suited for him because he can take the game on, particularly if he has an Ilias controlling the ruck.
Because they've been playing him 7, Campbell, which you get that weight.
You
get a different weight playing as a 7. Like you feel like you can't take those 50-50s.
Cues, that you see.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Honestly, it's on Ilias. Like if Ilias, don't know what's going on up there. If he takes that jersey, I think it'll be better for Campbell.
Yeah.
But it might fall where Campbell plays 7 on the right. Brimson ends up. I think Josh has come out and said he wants Brimson and Campbell to be his first choice. Yeah. Whether that happens, it all sorts itself out. But
again, and Josh, he's just come from the Sharks. There's some Craig Fitzgibbon where they play with. Well, certainly it's a little bit different now with Tricky, but they played the 2 halves when it was Matty Moylan and Nico Hines playing off the back of forwards, where they're relying more on their running games than getting the team around the park. They let the system get the team around the park, and it allows those attacking weapons, your halves, your fullbacks, just to take the cues in front of them. So he has the ability to probably play both, where he can play with a steady half like an Ilias if he puts his hand up, the general out there getting the team around the park, or he can design a system around 2 running halves in Brimson and Jaden Campbell.
Did Josh Hannay do more defence or attack?
He was our attacking coach, so he'd be all over. He's all over that. So again, it depends on the players, really. They're deep into their preseason now. They're prepping for their first trial. So normally trials, I'd say at the majority of established clubs, the first one's a bit of a hit out, and the second one is your main guys getting ready just to blow the cobwebs out. But these trials for the Titans of a new coach, new system. It's a real opportunity for those players fighting for positions to put their hand up and show Josh Hannay that they want first crack in whatever jerseys available.
Another big story from the off-season that we'll talk about quickly before we go to a break is the Perth Bears and some of the players they're signing now. Now, I'm keen to hear your boys' thoughts, but they've got so far Nick Meaney, Tyron Wishart, Liam Henry, Josh Curran, Toby Sexton, Sean Russell, Chris Vilea, who was at the Sharks, mate, Wade, when you were there. I think I've got written down here.
Yeah, he was great. He's a great young player.
Harry Newman and James McDonald are the other two as well.
Yeah, just on Chris, he's a great pickup. Probably he's ready. He did play a game of first grade. He scored a nice try. I think it was against South Sydney. He made his debut. Just unlucky. He's been behind guys like Ronnie Mulatalo, Sifa Talakai, Kale Iro, the emergence of his, and then the versatility of Sifa Talakai. When one of our centres goes down, Sifa sort of slots into that centre spot. But Chrissy, he's a great young player. And listen, the Perth Bears, they're doing a decent job of getting guys over there. Like Josh Curran, he's an experienced player. Liam Henry's a Penner assistant. Tyron Wishart, Nick Meaney, know how valuable those sorts of guys are. Toby Sexton, saw how good he was in the finals last year for the Bulldogs. So they're getting their squad together, but there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way to go to fill out that 30-man roster. And when we saw the Dolphins come in, they got some really experienced guys, the Bromwich boys, some other guys, and it was a tough slog there early. So Mao and his team over there, it's a good start, but they need to keep being proactive and keep filling up their books.
Yeah, they've done well from November. I think it was the end of November they had no one.
Yeah.
To put these guys together, you won't want to hear this, but I think they need to go down the Dolphins, but like the Bromwich brothers, Felice Kafusi, Mark Nichols up front. There's a bunch of Cronulla forwards who they're obviously all playing for their contracts, but like a Cameron McInnes for me, someone that can go in and like show the club, this is how you train as a first grader. This is how you play. This is how you behave around the club, which is what the Bromwich brothers would have done. Felice would have done. They've got Meaney and Wishart from Melbourne. Good play. They've got Isaac Fasil Malawi from Catalan.
Is that a play to Tino?
I honestly reckon it is. Yeah, I do think it is.
Mao
Whether they get him or not.
Mao has a great relationship with Tino.
He does from the Titans,
team, and the Titans, but he was the Australian coach when Tino debuted. So, and they would have a great relationship. So it's a big play there. Mao's pulling out.
Yeah.
There's no doubt he wants Tino.
Yeah.
And that's the big struggle for the Titans, whether they start the season well and can offer Tino reason to stay, because he's been doing it tough over the last couple of years. Like a player who wholeheartedly goes out there and he's, arguably the best player every week, and just week after week, results not going his way with all that effort. It can weigh a player like Tino down. But he's the big one. And I agree with you. We'll talk about it next when we get into Jimmy's thoughts after the breaks. But it is a big season for a lot of those Sharkies forwards, particularly the ones getting a bit older.
The thing, though, about you mentioned the Bromwich guys and Kafusi, with all due respect to Nick Meaney and Tyron Wishart, they're not the Bromwich boys and Felice Kafusi. And Tino, why would Tino go to Perth when he's getting paid $1.5 million anyway at the Titans? If you're him, you've got the choice of money at the Titans and money at Perth Bears, so you've got to move to another team. But really, the choice should be, do I want to go to another club that's probably going to be average, or go to a club that's going to be contending for premierships again, like he started his career at the Storm?
The thing with Tino, how many clubs can afford him that are in that premiership window? Like the Bulldogs, they're out. Melbourne are probably out unless they move a couple of guys on. Penrith probably won't go after him. The Sharks definitely can't afford him. Who else was close to the top last year?
Maybe Storm might have a crack at him.
Maybe Storm, but if he wants that same money or close to it, there's not going to be a lot of clubs in that premiership window who can afford him.
He'll have to take a haircut to go to one of the big clubs.
It's one of those things he has to weigh up. And don't get me wrong, he's been paid well over the last few years, and maybe he knows that money isn't everything, going out there every week and leading from the front, copying the bruises, not getting the results. It can, like I said, it can take a toll physically and mentally on a player. So he might be able to give up a little bit of money to go somewhere where he could just do his job and enjoy a little bit more winning success. But again, the relationship with Mao, his brother obviously signing there, it'll be at least a little bit of a draw card for him.
Jimmy Graham. Now, I will stick up for Jimmy. We ranked the teams from 1 to 17 on how excited he was for the NRL season. And he had to watch them, basically. And he had the Sharks in 17th. Now, it wasn't necessarily negative about the Sharks, but it was a little bit along the lines of a bit boring to watch, but also they're going to be a good team again this year. There's not really that many exciting storylines around them.
Okay.
Do you think that's fair for the Sharks?
Did he say it with the Sharks jersey hanging in the background? That was
Yes, he
to the
did.
point?
He actually did.
Well,
We actually had your jersey.
Yeah, we might be taking that back actually. And well, listen, I could probably, from a neutral's point of view, when you look at the Sharks, not much change in their roster. You know, they're probably going to be thereabouts again this year. We know the style that they play. I can understand there's no real storyline. There's no really question marks about them. So the interest might be low from a neutral. Certainly from a Sharkies fan, it's a big year for the Sharks because of all those things we just said. Thereabouts, you don't really ever stay in the same spot too often in the NRL. Well, Penrith obviously bucked the trend, the last 5 years. But you either you move up the ladder or you go down the ladder, and they've been sitting 2 prelims in a row now. It kind of feels like breakthrough year for the Sharks with that roster and how balanced they are, or it's time to make some subtle changes, and they're going to be forced into some organic changes because, listen, their salary cap is really tight. All those guys are experienced, established players. They're all not on massive money, but they're all on decent money, which puts pressure on the cap and really takes away any room for manoeuvring from Fitzgibbon or Darren Mooney to go out there and get proactive in the market. So I think this is a big year for the Sharks. I'm excited by it. I love the way they finished the back end of last year, particularly the defence. They fell short again in a prelim, and all those guys, Blake Brayley's, who had to step up, be the captain last year, went on to tour with the Australian team. Braden Trindle, another year in. Cam McInnes, welcomed him back off the ACL, after a few months. So there's a lot of upside, but there's also that pressure of being one of the top teams and that expectation of consistency. So I'm looking forward to the season. I really like where they're at. I think they can do it. I think they can win this year. But it's easier said than done. They got a long way to go. But I can understand where Jimmy's coming from with not, there hasn't been anything that changed.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, being consistent.
It'll be same 17. Cam comes in.
Well,
Ronnie drops out.
He's out.
So he'll come on
Stone
Stone
Street in there. And
I love them this year. Honestly, I think that they're stable. They've got to these 2 prelims. They'll probably learn a heap. Same spine. Adden has another year.
Yep.
Blake Brayley's peak of his career. Even Will Kennedy's at 26. They're at the peak of their career. Trindle, Nico, I reckon they're ripe, ready to go. Fitzy, I know exactly. He's going to be in every game. They're never going to get blown out. They're going to be in every game. They're hard to beat at home. They've run into Penrith and Melbourne, and they're probably going to run into them again, but they just need a little bit of luck through the finals. They need Nico to have another dally. Blake's going to be probably their best player. They need one of the other 3, Kennedy, Nico, or Trindle, to just have a career year. Because their pack it's one of the best packs in the comp. Outside backs are powerful. I think they're a lock top 4, and it's just about getting lucky. Hopefully there's not a home final for them at Sharkbag. But honestly, I just think they need a little bit of luck.
Oh, it's good to have some backup here on the Triple M. Ever since I retired.
No one wants to talk to them because it's boring. But
all I hear is Triple M, Charlie bags the Sharks, Jimmy bags the Sharks, Brent Reed bags the Sharks. Yeah. It's good to have some backup. But again, you can have all the expectations on the year and you can have the experience of the past. They still got to go out there and do it. And that's the hardest thing in the NRL is preparing to recreate it and go out there and earn their way. And the Sharks, they're no different from any other team right now. They're finishing up their work and giving themselves the best opportunity to start the season well.
Do you like what Fitzgibbon's done around these players, and he's making a bunch of them play for their contracts basically this year? Because his press conference after the prelim final, he was really dejected, and it wasn't, oh yeah, we've made the prelim final, great effort by everyone. He was really disappointed, and he's put a group of players who he hasn't re-signed, which is, I'll run you through all of them: Jaden Beryl, Billy Burns, Braden Hamlin ULA, Tuku Haitapua, Blake Hosking, Sione Katoa, William Kennedy, Cam McInnes, Hohei Puru, Jesse Ramian, Toby Rudolph, Sam Stone Street, and Sifa Talakai. There's some big names, big parts of their core as well, who are off contract. Do you like what he's done where he's just put them all on notice and said, play for your contracts this year?
I think, realistically, you have to look at the work that's been put in, and Fitzy's given all those players every opportunity to find success. He's created that environment, created the stable team, and you'd love to keep every player forever, but there comes a time where you need to make changes and look towards youth and to keep turning the roster over. And again, it's not as if the writing's on the wall for any of those players. They can play for their contract and renegotiate with the club, but it's really the ball's in everyone's court at the moment, and you're going to be judged on how you perform, how you play, how you act around the club, and there's enough room there to sign any of those guys, but there's also enough room for Fitzy to go and look to the future and go, okay, this current squad, although it's been very great for us, and there's no doubt they haven't had the ultimate success, but as a club, consistency-wise, top 4, 2 prelims in a row, their juniors coming through, being able to sign guys like Tom Hazelton, Jesse Colquhoun, bring them through, cover guys when Cam McKinnon goes out. Like, he's developed that squad into a really, really strong position, and a club where stability is the number one thing. They're looking good, and now they have the versatility to maneuver out of guys here and there. So it's hard because I have a personal relationship with a lot of guys. I played with a lot of those guys, but one player never comes before the club, and it's up to them how long they want to stay there, and they can show that by their performance throughout the season. How they prepare and how they present themselves around the club, and ultimately too, it allows Fitzy that if they're not getting the job done or he needs to go elsewhere, well, he has that ability now to hopefully improve the roster and to keep the club trending in the right direction.
I like it. I reckon he's felt that they're nearly there, and this is the year. He's obviously said this is the year we either get it done or there's going to be some changes. And I reckon it's a little bit of that, like we had at the Rooster, that mentality. Like, we always knew, no matter how many years you're contracted, if you don't get the job done, you're probably, well, you're not gone, but you know what I mean? Your job's up for grabs. It doesn't, it's a good pressure.
Yeah.
It's a good pressure. It builds a winning culture. It builds toughness. It builds mental resilience. The only concern is if you don't start the year the best, 3 or 4 blokes get dropped, people start signing with other clubs, unrest, media starts getting in there, managers start talking about ripping people out. Like, that's the only concern you can have with it. If you don't, the results aren't going well, a lot of noise starts.
Well, that's what tests the culture of a club when that starts happening, and that'll be a test for Fitzy if it does occur and arrive. The strengths of the relationships between the players and the staff and the club, and the way you truly value the club and your teammates. That'll be a test if when the bad times come or the adversity comes, how you react to that as a player. And I'm really confident in what they're building down there. Again, Fitzy, he understands what it takes to win. He understands what it takes to build a club and what success looks like. And I've never seen the Cronulla Sharks as a club in a stronger position, off the field and on the field. And a big part of that was signing Craig Fitzgibbon.
Yeah. You had him, was it the last 2 years
2
he was
years,
there?
yeah.
And then you had him as an assistant at the Roosters.
He was assistant at the Roosters the whole time.
The whole time you were there, yeah. He, what sort of coach is he? Or it'd be interesting to hear your perspective of what he was like as an assistant and you as a head coach to see if they changed him.
He was, I got there at the end, right, when he was ready to go. Like, he's ready to be a head coach, and he's just got this aura about him where he speaks and you listen. And he took care of our whole forward pack, took care of our defence. And if he asked you to do something, it was like you loved him as a bloke. He was honest, trustworthy, hardworking, and you did it for him straight away. And you could tell straight away he's going to be a head coach, had the aura about him, the way he kind of lives his life and the values he puts across. And it's exactly how they play. They're tough, never going to beat himself, always in the scrap. They just need to put that little bit of polish on the end. It'd be interesting to see Hannay gone, Holdsworth comes up.
Yeah.
Does their attack change a bit? Like, it'll be interesting to see that little adjustment. They're going to be a defensive side.
Yeah.
He knows what wins premierships, but it'll be interesting to see how because that's kind of been their Achilles heel, right? Their spine, well, the criticism has been their spine just hasn't been able to get them over the line in the big games. Like, how do they kind of handle this? That's the question mark for me on them, because they're going to be in every game. It's how Nico, Trindle.
Well, it's the big moments, right? And it's one thing doing it throughout the season. consistently, but then you work, and you know yourself,
Yeah.
you've won 3 premierships. You do it throughout the season, so you get confidence that you can do it when it matters.
Yep.
But then when it comes to that time on the night, you need to get it done, and sometimes you do,
Yeah.
and sometimes you don't. And you know, reaching 2 prelims is a fantastic achievement, but ultimately now game you're judged on
Yep.
winning, and they've had 2 opportunities and a couple more before that where we bowed out of the finals. But you know, hopefully they get another opportunity this year, and they're in a better place and can go one step further.
Another team that we're going to talk about now is the Bunnies, and I reckon they've got the biggest difference between how good it could go and how bad it could go. The potential is amazing; it's a top 4 potential. However, the other side of it is they could be a bottom 4 team. Like Brandon
The
Smith,
calves have already started.
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah.
They've
Have
had-
they?
Yeah, Latrell Mitchell's on his calf.
Fafita went
Yeah,
down the other.
Fafita
I
went
don't know
down.
if they're bad. but
Fafita's been having issues with his ankle, so he's been rolling his ankle a couple of times during the off season as
Something's
well.
going
It's got to
on
be.
there.
They got to check into their training facility.
Well, they
So
have.
many cars.
So they have shaken that up. So they're getting a new strength and conditioning staff. They've made a lot of changes there. But obviously the calf around Latrell Mitchell was not a good sign.
Yeah, well, obviously they've moved. Like Latrell's going to play left centre. Jai Great at fullback. You're right. You look at them and you go, "Whoa, they could be minor premiers." But then you look at last year and go, "They could come last."
Yeah.
Like it's genuinely they
Yeah.
could go either way.
I think the big one for them is Cam Murray back. Now,
Yeah.
He's a game changer. Certainly, the presence he brings, the leadership, and just his ability to get a quick play of the ball and allow guys like Latrell and Cody to get over the ad line and create those opportunities. Now, they had a big pack at times last year, but no one with that real
Punch.
that the leg speed over the ad line that could generate a quick play of the ball and then bang, they're gone.
Yep.
And that's what Cam will bring. And he's just a steady player. When we talk about Latrell and Cody, Jackie White, and all those guys, they're match winners, but you need just steady players to put them into position so they can take advantage of their opportunities. And Cam just brings that level of experience and consistency that'll set them off on the right foot. And if they don't play to their potential this year, and like we know the caliber of their play, well, something's going on there, and they need to sort of have a look at their systems or their mindset or their attitude towards the game, because their roster's too talented to be spending another season outside the top 8. So I expect them to have a big year, the Bunnies.
It'd be interesting because since Wayne's got there, they haven't had a 7. Like they've had Ilias, didn't like last year, experimented with a few different guys. It'd be interesting to see who's actually going to play 7. Is Cody going to play 7 on the left? I know they got Cody, Fafita, Latrell, AJ on the left. What's he doing? Like that's their question mark is, can they settle that spine? Can Brendan come in? Like, what's Brendan going to look like? Is he going to play him at lock? Is he going to play hooker? Is he an 80-minute hooker? Does Mazulis come on and play? But the 7 is a big.
Yeah.
Is it Ashton Ward? Is it Jamie Hunt? Like,
Yeah.
they need to settle that. Those teams with those big question marks on spine, Dragons are the same. It's just always you kind of fluctuating in and out.
That's probably the only red flag, isn't it? Because then you like all those players you
Everything
mentioned.
else in
We
place.
haven't even mentioned like Kalama Tungi, Tallis Duncan. Like they've got Jack White.
Jack, like
Yeah.
there's so
Latrell
many.
at left centre, does Jack.
Well, and the wild
Where does
card of
Jack come in?
Fafita,
Yeah.
like he's the wild card, because we don't know how well Wayne has been able to turn him around. I know you just said he had ankle injuries, but the upside on David Fafita is enormous. Like we know how devastating he can be as a player, and if Wayne can get him back to his best, that's a type of player who's almost one of a kind in the NRL. The things he can do as a back row when he's on, so he's the wild card and potential huge upside if they can get him going.
What would you do with Jack? They brought him over. He'd be one of the highest paid players there. They brought him over. He was a premier 6 of the comp. He was borderline Origin every year. He was one of the better 6s. Like, what would you do with him? Obviously, Latrell. They've locked Latrell in left centre.
You could move him at 6, but he's only ever played on the left side, left footer. Then you take away Cody off that left side with his left foot, and his most dangerous attacking edge has always been down the left with his ball playing ability. And Alex Johnson's going to get the record this year for most tries in a reason, and it's mainly due to Cody playing down that left hand side for so many years. So it's an interesting one. It's a hard dynamic, and it might sound like it's not a big thing moving, predominantly left sided half over to the right side when
Big thing.
they've been pigeonholed sort of their whole career. Now he's a natural footballer. He could probably float both sides and do the job, but will it take away some of his strength being on that side of the field? Possibly. But are you happy to sacrifice that little bit of flair and creativity to have a experienced guy in there getting the team around the park, allowing the other guys to be in good positions to take over the game? So again, question marks. But I think Wayne Bennett, he'd be all over it. I think Jai Gray's a must in their team. They look like a different football team with him out the back. Latrell's obviously probably the best left centre in the game when he's going. So
Could Jack play back row? Like in a similar
he
mold to how
could.
you play, like as in ball playing, he can kick. He's a big body, aggressive,
Yeah.
runs hard. The motor, like you'd be best to.
He could, but then it limits probably the way Fafita gets in because he's a left edge back rower. So it's a big balancing act at the moment. And again, we're saying this when everyone's fit. It's always funny in rugby league. Get to this time of the year, this late in the preseason, and you would have experienced this, Luke. It sort of sorts itself out.
Yeah.
Like a couple of guys get key injuries, and then all of a sudden, there's not multiple guys going for one position. You have your squad, and you start that way, and guys come back in, and form dictates the rest. But I think a lot of these question marks will get answered over the first few weeks of the trials, and we'll get a good look at South in the Charity Shield.
Charity Shield, yeah, Feb 14.
So I don't know if they'll play all their main guys for long periods of time, but we'll certainly get our first look at them and be able to know a bit more after that.
Yeah. Cheese is really interesting because I don't know if you've seen this way, but he did a podcast last week and he's basically gone to rehab and he's been sober for over 100 days now. He looks amazing. Like I've never seen him look as sharp and like just the way he was talking seems so determined. Like I think what's happened to him and doing all that stuff is going to make a huge impact on him, and he could be that elite hooker for them as well.
Well, again, much like Fafita, like the upside on Brandon Smith playing at his best, it's huge for South, and I'm glad to hear that he's in a good place. I think everyone, in the NRL, they love Brandon Smith for the character that he is and the no nonsense sort of larrikin, but you can't let that take over your football, which gives you everything in this life when you have a rugby league career. And sometimes you get the balance wrong, and he obviously got the balance wrong for a little bit, and he hasn't been at his best for the last 2 or 3 years. So, hopefully he turns it around. But again, another player who has massive potential to lift that South Sydney team. And like for South, honestly, we can't be sitting here next year talking about them possibly being a top 4 team. Not with that roster they have.
Yeah.
Like if they're sitting here again in the same position and another season sails past, they need to look at some changes.
I agree. If you can keep Brandon, David, Fafita, Latrell, and Cody on the field,
Jack White,
you are
Jai
top.
Gray,
It's a top
Cam
4
Murray.
roster without even talking about their forward pack.
Yeah.
They've just got to keep them on the field. I don't know what's going on down there at Heffron Park, but they've just got to keep them on the field.
It's the AstroTurf, mate. The AstroTurf. That's what they're
Get
saying.
rid of it. Get rid of it.
The Knights are a team that have obviously made one of the biggest signings of the offseason in Dylan Brown. He's a huge buy for them, arguably robbed of the Golden Boot award. But their spine, that's the biggest question mark on what it's going to look. You got Kalen Ponga, you got Dylan Brown, you got Fletcher Sharp, you got Phoenix Crossland, and you got Sandon Smith. Like how you fit them all in and who plays where, that's probably their biggest question.
Yeah, I don't think it's a question mark. I've spoken to Chris James. He's there as the head of footy. It is Sandon Smith is their only 7. There is no other option. Like Dylan, yes, but we've seen his best footy for New Zealand. He's one of the best 5'8" in the comp. Sandon is a genuine 7. He'll play on ball. He can do all their kicking. He'll get them around the park. He's matured a lot. There's no, like in my mind, there's no other option. Ponga's premier fullback. Dylan's a premier number 6. Sandon is your only 7. Phoenix Crossland's the New Zealand number 9. Like it just fits. And I think they have to find a spot for Fletcher Sharp, whether that's on the wing, at centre, probably not with Gags and Bradman Best there. Probably Marzu makes way for Fletcher Sharp.
Yeah.
But I think they have to. I know they're training with Sandon there at 7, Brown at 6. Ponga's been injured, so Fletcher's been training at fullback. But I just think he's going to be the 7, and I think he's going to have a good year.
I agree. I've never liked the idea of trying to turn Dylan Brown into a halfback. I think, I know now that he's signed that big deal, put the money aside now. You put him in your team and you give him an opportunity to play the best footy for your club and be the best player he can be. And that's at 6 for Dylan Brown. Luke said it earlier, and he would know better. There's a different pressure when you play as a 7, getting the team around the park, to a 6 and play your natural game where you just take cues and opportunities and those 50-50 calls. And I think if you put Dylan Brown in at 7, there's no guarantee. There's definitely a guarantee. I think it'll affect his game. We've seen the opportunities had at Parramatta over the years with Mitch Moses being out. It's taken away from his game, and there's no guarantee that he'd be able to build a combination and unlock Kalen Ponga as a 7. I like the idea of Sandon Smith, someone steady, kicks well, can take that burden and free up Ponga, free up Brown, and hopefully they can form a combination that can unlock their attack, because it's hurt them for a long time now, their attack, their ability, not to be able to score points, put so much pressure on their defence. And they defended well in periods over the last few years, but you just can't tackle all game every week in the NRL against other quality sides. They'll just wear you down, and the season's too hard to play that way. So, listen, I hope they have a good season. I think it's going to be a bit of a journey. Whether there's any pressure on Brown if he doesn't start the season the way he finished the Pac Champs with that price tag, I think that'd be unfair to him. I hope everyone just puts the money aside now and gives him an opportunity to settle into the club, because no one. Yeah, I know they won't.
Definitely won't.
But if the pressure's going to come for anyone because it doesn't work out, the pressure should come to whoever signed off on the deal, whoever the recruitment was, whoever was the footy manager. That's where the recruitment, the pressure should go, because no one's going to blame Dylan Brown for taking that deal. Mate, if he was my teammate, I would have packed his bags and walked him up the highway. It was an incredible opportunity, but
I think it's set up perfect for him. Like you said, if he comes in on 10 mil and he's the 7, the weight of that, and he's unfamiliar. So he plays 6, right? He'll automatically feel comfortable. They'll play him on the left. He knows he plays left short sides. He runs the ball. And the other thing for Sandon, perfect. He's got a $10 million player next to him. Everyone's going to be talking about Dylan. Sandon gets to play 7. He's not the main guy, but he's going to run him around. And he just gets to play his natural game as a 7. I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go. I think they'll be way ahead of where they were last year. I know Justin's there too, who's he's a genius with attack, which will sort him out. So I think they'll be miles ahead of where they were last year.
The big thing for them is their forward pack. When you spend all that money in the spine, another part of your team's weak. And their forward pack, if you look at it, especially after losing Leo Thompson against the other packs, it doesn't look as good as those contending teams or anywhere close to it.
Well, that's, for Holbrook to try and instill some confidence and some understanding in what type of footy they want to play as a team, and to just give them simple roles that they can complete throughout a game that hopefully gives them enough opportunities for their strike guys to take over and take advantage of those opportunities. You don't need to set the world on fire as a forward pack, but you need to do your job and hold your own in the middle, get even share of possession, get decent yardage up the field, and a lot can be mitigated by Marju and your outside backs carrying those early plays. You just need your middle 4 and your couple of rotation guys to do a solid job. You don't need them to win you the game, but you can't have them losing the game by errors or conceding penalties, putting pressure on the team. And Justin Holbrook's a smart guy. He can get those guys to a level where they're doing enough to hopefully allow their strike weapons to take over.
I reckon you'll see a different brand of footy from them. Like I think they know they're not going to be able to mix it with these top teams through the middle, right? Tic-tac footy, which Adam O'Brien came from that Melbourne system where it's how you win big games. Yeah. Justin's come, he's the opposite. Like Justin's come, he's an attack. He used to drive Robbo mad because he just didn't care. He wouldn't talk about defense. He would Robbo was like, how can you code like you don't? But he's gonna. I reckon you'll see him shift a lot. You'll see Ponga out the back of a heap of shape midfield. Brown will have the ball in his hands, a heap down left short sides. Like I reckon you're going to see a different. He did it with the Titans.
Yeah,
that's what he did well with them. Like they were on the edge of the 8 most years. They played this attacking style of footy. They shifted a lot.
Could find a lot of points, couldn't they? When Holbrook was.
I reckon he's going to. You'll see a different Newcastle team. Yeah. They're going to shift the ball out of yardage. They're not going to play they're not going to try and compete with the Penriths and Melbournes and Cronullars where they play the grind footy. They're going to play a different style, and they'll be better for it, I think.
We got to get out of here, boys. You got to get back to Dad,
Oh,
Judy,
you pick up the
Wado.
kids, mate.
You're not wearing a watch.
Daycare's over.
His watch, I'm not wearing a watch.
Daycare's over.
But great show, boys. Luke, great to have you part of Triple M
Cheers,
this
mate.
year. Well done. We'll be back next week with plenty more Triple M NRL Daily.